Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video on the channel. Today, let's just go ahead and look at the overall market. Let's take a look at what's going on today. You guys saw we had Amazon, Snapchat, and a few others reporting earnings today. Most of them looking very positive, and most of them helping the NASDAQ market up a little bit higher after a very weak day. The NASDAQ went ahead and held a very key level off the back of some of these earnings reports. So the question is, does it hold coming into tomorrow, coming into next week, because of the positive earnings that we saw? Is this just a little bit of a pump fake because of the earnings and we move back lower, or is this level here to stay? We will go ahead and talk about that in today's video. After talking about the overall market, I just want to show you guys two trades that I took today on Tesla. One of them is a loser. I was looking for a breakdown. I took it a little bit too early, took the loss, went ahead and took it again one more time. Got the breakdown, a very nice setup. Went ahead and took my profits on that play and just called it a day. You guys have seen that the price action has been very difficult in this market, and it is very easy to try to find things that are really not there. I've been trying to limit the amount of trades I take, been trying to just take some really good setups and get out of the day, not trying to scalp this market when there is very difficult volatility and very difficult chop that is going on intraday. So let's go ahead and jump into today's video. Press that like button if you enjoy it after watching, and make sure to subscribe to the channel. All right, guys, so let's start this video off with the NASDAQ. I think it's important for us to make these videos as much as possible because of how much volatility is going on in this market. I hope you guys are enjoying the videos just reviewing the overall futures and the overall market to give you a better idea of how to prepare for the next day. I am definitely watching this every day, almost all day, to get an idea of what I think for the market. I hope you guys, are enjoying the analysis that I provide. After that, we'll get into some of the trades, but I think right now, more important than anything is a good understanding of the overall market than seeing the trades that I take. So we'll do both, but let's focus here on the NASDAQ. So on the daily chart, you guys can see we did bounce originally off that 13,850. We got that push. We talked about that in the previous video. Now, this was the level we're focusing on, and we have to zoom in just a little bit more to see the real level that we are focusing on, and that was this little gold area that you are seeing on your chart. I went ahead and turned this gold. It's like a golden zone that I am definitely watching here on the 30-minute, on the hour, and that is right here around that 14,550. Now, why am I watching that level, right? It's because we had that previous resistance, previous resistance, previous resistance. So we came back to it. We talked about this. We said, hey, we did get the push, but the retest would be nice, right? The retest would be potentially very nice to see if the NASDAQ can turn that previous resistance into support. We never just want to see a full-on rally straight up because we don't know where that support comes in. So it is nice to see, on one hand, it is nice to see that there is some support there stepping in around 14,550. Now, the one thing that I sort of take away from this bounce, that I'm not too confident about this bounce, is the fact that it is pushing up off of an earnings report. It wasn't a natural bounce. It wasn't because there was buyers there. It wasn't because the market moved lower and just found a lot of support, a lot of demand, and started to creep back higher. This was a bounce that, I don't want to say artificial, but it was a bounce that was mainly due to reports from Amazon and Snapchat today that were very positive. So the question is, does this bounce hold? Well, we really can't answer that question with any type of real certainty until potentially we see it come back down and test once again. I think maybe that is what you could see tomorrow or over the next week. Maybe you need to come back and test it during market hours, and maybe you need to see it hold during market hours to be a little bit more comfortable about it. Now, the reason is because if we go into the 5-minute, you guys are going to see that we did trade back down into it today, right? This is today's price action, and we can see today was really weak, just sort of slid all day, just bled out all day. We actually cracked that support before the market closed, and the reason you see this upside is because of the earnings report. So, do we get a bounce over that? Do we actually hold here? That's the question. You can see in the after hours right now, we are sort of rejecting this 14.8 level, and that was that was today's highs, right around 14.8. So we need to watch this 14.8 tomorrow, and we definitely need to watch this 14,550. I'm going to be careful. I'm not trusting this very long. I'm not trusting this over an extended period of time. I'm still taking this market day by day because I just don't quite know if this bounce is legit off of earnings. So that is a very big question mark for me coming into tomorrow. Tomorrow could give us a little bit more light, right? If the market does rally and continue off these earnings reports, then maybe we get a little bit more momentum to the upside. If we zoom out to the hourly chart here, we can see, it is creating somewhat of a head and shoulders here on the hourly. So that is another thing that we want to be aware of, right? We have a left shoulder, a head, and maybe this is our right shoulder that is forming here on the NASDAQ. The big level, as I already stated, 14,550, 14,550. That is where we are. I think everyone is waiting to see if the market holds up. So if we do get the pop over 14.8, if we get the pop over these highs back on Tuesday of this week, right around 14,960, and we start to push over 15, then yeah, that gives me a little bit more confidence that we are, making a higher low here, because that technically, if we ignore why this market bounced, that is technically what is being put in, right? We have a low and we have a low. That is a potential higher low. If we go ahead and make a higher high now, that gives me a little bit more confidence. We would need to see a break over these Wednesday highs of right around 15,250. So that's what I'm watching right now, guys. This is what's going to be all, on watch tomorrow for me. 14,550, does it hold? Does this bounce hold due to earnings? Or do we reject off this 14.8 and go ahead and retest it intraday? That's the NASDAQ. Let's go ahead and quickly look at the S&P 500. So a very similar picture here for the S&P 500. We got the bounce today in the after hours due to the earnings reports. Is this a legit bounce? We did bounce off some previous support right around this 44.8. You guys can see a little bit of a double bottom, but do I trust it with the bounce being due to the earnings? That's the question I have. The golden area that I'm watching on the ES is down here at 44.40, 4,440. That is those previous resistance levels before that breakout occurred. So we didn't quite pull back to that. And seeing that, as we saw that pullback on the NASDAQ back to that golden area, and you didn't quite get back to there on the ES, that's telling me one thing. The ES is outperforming the NASDAQ. So that's important. ES outperformance of the NASDAQ. Tech is still the weaker side, the weaker sector. ES is holding this 44.80 due to the earnings bounce. Really, what I need to see here to get me more confident is either a break over 45.40, which is right here, or a break over these Wednesday's highs of 45.85. If we get that move, then I can confidently say that we are making a higher low and a higher high. So this is what I'm watching on the ES. I'm watching it also on the NASDAQ. We'll see if this earnings bounce holds up. Amazon, Snapchat saving the market in a way right now after a pretty ugly day and a very ugly reaction off of Facebook. Does Amazon, does Snapchat help us continue higher tomorrow into next week? We will find out tomorrow. Make sure to come to the pre-market live streams to get a better and a more updated view in the pre-market of what this market is looking at and what we can prepare for into the coming day. All right, guys, so now that we went ahead and looked over the NASDAQ and the S&P, I want to go ahead and just share with you guys two trades that I took today on Tesla. One was a loser. The next one was a winner. And we'll go ahead and talk about the setup that I was watching, why I took this downside play on Tesla today. So we have the big push, right? Didn't really play much of it. Was a little bit hesitant this morning. Didn't know where the market wanted to go in general. Figured the market was going to be weak after a very ugly Facebook move. We did get that push, but most of my concerns were that we'd have an end of day move lower, and we sort of did have that. Just wasn't too confident on the upside early morning. So when we started to flush back lower, I had a very big interest at what is Tesla going to do as it starts to approach the VWAP, which is this gray line here. We start to see that the VWAP was starting to get tested right around this 12:04 p.m. Eastern time level. You can see right here, right around 12:04, we did get a bounce off the VWAP. And at the same time, the NASDAQ was also bouncing at a key level. And I started to see this bear flag start to form, right? We started to get this bear flag starting to form, and we also started to reject previous support. So this was very interesting to me. I was really focused on seeing if I could catch this VWAP breakdown around 12 o'clock today. So you guys can see previous support from intraday right around 918, right in this area. We broke below it. You guys can see right here, bounced off VWAP. And when we bounced off VWAP, we went ahead and retested that previous support as resistance. That's what I love to see, right? That's a little bit of a break and retest. You could call it an inverse break and retest. It's basically a break and retest, but to the downside. So if I go to Tesla inverse, you can actually see it right here, right? So if we go to this little VWAP test, This is the inverse of the Tesla chart, so I know it looks a little confusing, but you guys can see this is the area right here. I'm going to zoom in for you. Right here, this, you would consider this bullish, right? So you'd see a previous resistance right here, right? Previous resistance turns into support, a little bit of a bull flag, and then you get your breakout. This is the inverse of Tesla, so this is not actually what the chart did, but here's the actual Tesla chart. So it's basically the same thing, but to the downside. So you can see support, previous support turns into resistance, a little bit of a flag pattern, and this is where I tried to get this breakdown. Got it wrong the first time, took a loss. Second time, I got it right. So here are the trades here on your screen, guys. So you guys can see on Tesla, the first one that I took a loss on, I bought 2 Tesla puts, 925 puts at 12:13 p.m. for $20.89. So 12:13 was right here. I started to see that red rejection come in, started to see us reject the 9 EMA, and I started to think, okay, we went ahead and rejected that previous support. It still looks like it's turning into resistance to me. Let me go ahead and get in here for a scalp, looking for that downside move. Now, what you'll see, if you guys, if we look at where I got out, you can see I did take a very quick loss at 12:14. About a minute later, I took about a $140 loss right there. We went ahead and we pushed higher on this candle, and I got a little concerned. I said, you know, this doesn't look like it's setting up as much as I would have liked. I wanted to see the instant breakdown. We didn't get it. So if that's working against me, I can't just sit in these contracts. I got to get out of that if it's not looking right. I did keep my eye on it because I still saw that rejection come in right around this previous support that turned into resistance. And you can see I went ahead and jumped back in. So right around 12:16, you guys can see right here when we really got the confirmation, which maybe I should have waited for in the first place. I got a little bit aggressive here, didn't wait for the actual confirmation there, but I got the confirmation on the second attempt at 12:16, got in 2 contracts for $21, and I actually added one at 12:19, which was on this breakdown. I figured this breakdown looked a little bit nasty. I had a little bit more risk that I was willing to take, so I did add one at 22.87, and I got all out 3 contracts at 24.80 at 12.20, which is right as we started to bounce here at the low. So it was right at the beginning of that 12.20 candle, so it was literally right at that low right around there. So overall, on those 2 contracts, I think my average was right around 22.40, and I got out about $2.40 on 3 contracts. So a nice $600-700 winner on that trade. Subtract the loser that I took, I netted just around $550-600 on that trade alone. Sort of just wrapped it up there. Didn't do much for the rest of the day. A good trade, a good setup, a very clean little setup that I actually was able to find and trade. Besides that, guys, I've had a little bit of difficulty finding these really clean setups intraday. You can see Tesla, for the most part, it did slide, but look at the volatility that you have to deal with while you're holding a put. Let's say you were holding a put here. You got to deal with through this. You got to deal through this bounce, this bounce. You know, if you have a position size you're comfortable with, then yes, that is something you could just potentially hold. But in a market that I'm just not so comfortable in, it's difficult for me to just go ahead and hold these things, knowing that there could be an intraday swing to either direction. So I got the quick move. I got the profit I was looking for. I got the setup I was looking for, and I just got out of there and just continued to watch the rest of the day and watch the Amazon earnings late in the day, of course. So that's today, guys. That's my video. That's the Tesla trade. Those are the reviews on the NASDAQ and the ES. I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you guys did, make sure to press that like button for me. Subscribe to the channel if you want to stay tuned for more. If you want to check out the Discord chat where we trade live every day, you guys can go ahead and press that link down below. If you guys are interested in getting some preparation early morning in the pre-market on the live stream that I do every single day, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to around 9 a.m., make sure to press the bell down below so that you are alerted every single time that I go live. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.